Back here on the Rich Eisen Show, and we're thrilled to have back here one of our favorites, and I'm not just saying that because he's sitting right here. The new comedy special, Dark Pale, is available today on Prime Video.
Classic bad dad material. But it is true, right?
It's the inner monologue, right? That you're letting out there.
Oh, absolutely.
In your monologue here and Dark Pale. That's an inner monologue if I've ever heard one.
It's
of a dad. Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, it is overwhelming. It's an impossible task.
You're all doing basketball.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. I mean, by the way, my kids, like the travel teams, I'm like, no, not going to happen.
Oh, gosh.
I refuse to let my children play hockey. I'm not doing that.
Oh, you hear the start time of some of these games?
Yeah. You know, I have
Get
friends,
out of here.
You know, we live in New York, driving up to Lake Placid. I'm like, no. There's like a
forget the hockey history there. I love it.
There's
Jim
a
Gaffigan
basketball
here.
tournament in Vegas. No, you're 9.
I know these
You know
travel events. Again, Jim Gaffigan, Dark Pale, 10th comedy special, an unprecedented
Isn't
feat.
that amazing? I'm only 23.
On Prime Video, it's available starting today. And you're talking about again these travel teams. When you mention hockey, I'm impressed when people tell me this, but also happy I'm not in that world. When I hear, okay, so my kid's on this hockey team, travel hockey team. We woke up at 3:30 in the morning and we drove 3.5 hours to get in there for that 7 o'clock start. And I'm not joking. Like, these are the actual times and the lengths of drives and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound negative, but I think I'd rather have my kids in rehab. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, you write a check for 50 grand, or you give up 10 years of your life. I mean, it's just no, but it is obviously the value of sports are really important.
Of course.
And I've got my 12-year-old loves basketball. And he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And, but, I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, no one that has our pigmentation is playing in the NBA, unless you're from Slovenia. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'm like, yeah, and I send him clips of Kobe, Kobe saying do 3 hours a day, and he's out there doing 3 hours a day, and I love it. Yeah. But there's no travel team.
How are you watching the games? How are you as the dad in the stands, Jim Gaffigan?
Well, some of it is, my 12-year-old is barely, like, his middle school he was 6th grade, and so, like, they didn't even allow him on the middle school team because he was too young or whatever.
Okay.
But, so, like, watching, I take him to practices and stuff like that. I mean, I enjoy it. I take videos and stuff like that.
No, I know that, but it's invariably, again, it's about being fun, having fun, and that's what we tell our kids that just have fun, go do it. But there is a competitive moment in it where either somebody else's kid or the another team is acting a little bit, aggressive, and so it. But you also know, it is a 12-year-old's event here.
Yes, and
it's a tug of war that goes on inside.
There is also managing. You don't want your kid, no matter how talented they are, to be like a douchebag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like sometimes he might be like, I shouldn't have passed it, and I'm like, no, you want people to know that you're a generous, teammate. And so like there's things like that. There's so many lessons in sports that are really valuable.
Yes.
But it is something that kind of can go too far,
Sure.
And it's just also, I don't know about you, but like leaving a practice my kids don't want to leave. So like the practice is over and they're like, I need to do some shots. I'm like, no, you don't. You know what I mean? You don't need to, you just did it for an hour and a half. Let's just go. So I'm kind of like, let's go.
Do you bribe them to get off the court sometimes?
No, I'm kind of just that guy. And, the coach would be like, hey, I'm like, we're done. We're done here. Let's leave. It's over. I'm a dick, essentially. No. But I love it. I love it. And there's nothing I enjoy more than like, because of some of my success, being able to take my sons to a Knick game. It's like amazing.
It is great.
Going to sporting events. It's amazing.
So now this week, Jim Gaffigan, I have my 3 kids are in camp. My wife is out of town.
Oh, wow.
I have the house to myself. And the first day that it happens is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
And then around like morning 2, night 2, stuff begins to creep in, like hunger, you know, because I have to fend for myself, and there's nothing in the fridge. Like I gotta shop. I gotta decide for myself what to eat. Yeah. There's no plates for me to pick off. Yeah. And then it's really like day 3, I honestly feel like I'm a castaway on an island.
And then you're like, am I just going to sit at a bar and drink a bourbon? You know what I mean? Like, because there are those guys that are just like sitting at the bar. And you don't want to be that, but the first night you're like, God, that guy has a good life.
He does. Right? So how do you find? Are you ever in the house by yourself? I mean, there's anymore. You got 5 kids or what?
Yeah. So there's 2 at camp, and then our 19-year-old is home, and the 2 younger ones are doing different camps.
Yes.
But there's chaos. But I travel so much doing stand-up, and I love touring. Yeah. So I kind of relish the opportunity to be at home doing some of this stuff. But, you know, so there's just, we do movie night and stuff like that, which is an impossible task because children have horrible taste. So, do you know what I mean? It's like,
I forgot what it was like to go when I was in high school, and my friends and I were like, we'll rent a movie, and we go to Blockbuster. Yeah. And we'd be in like minute 50 of walking around because we couldn't decide on what to get, or we finally decided what to get and that tape wasn't there. And I forgot what that feeling was until we had to choose a movie with my kids.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt exactly like that.
Yeah, no, I will search it up, and then I will pitch it to people. And, you know, I've got 19, 17... 14, 12, and 10. And sometimes I just bully the situation. I'll be like, we're watching Suspiria. And they're like, what's Suspiria? And I'm like, you're not going to like it, but I want to see it. And so, but often
there's not a revolt on your hands for something like that?
There's usually a revolt, and there's, there's complaining later on. But sometimes... You know, but it should be a movie. I feel like it should be a movie. And sometimes it's Freaky Friday and these decent movies, but sometimes we just end up watching, we've been watching Kitchen Nightmares a lot.
Okay.
It's amazing.
That's good, right?
It's amazing.
Okay.
And that's something where the whole team likes it, which is a relief.
Right. Usually it's a food show. Like we're a Great British Bake Show in our house. Holy moly is something we can agree to as a family. Really? Yeah, we can do that. But other than that,
it's hard.
It is warfare. It truly is to choose something that we can all sit and watch. And if it's something, if I suggest a movie in standard definition, immediately rejected.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately rejected. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is a classic movie. Like I pull the dad, like the you don't know thing.
Oh, yeah.
And but it's standard definition. Forget it. Out the door.
We watched Rushmore because I was kind of trying to set them up so that we could watch Asteroid City. And so I'm like,
so that's a gateway movie?
Well, it's like Wes Anderson. So I was so excited. Yeah, right. I was like, all right, I'll get my 19-year-old, you know, Jason Schwartzman's so amazing. Sure. My 10 and 12-year-old will climb on board. Bill Murray's with Bill Murray. And my 19-year-old, because, you know, he's in love with his teacher. And at one point he tries to kiss her, and it's kind of aggressive. And my 19-year-old was like, I'm out. You know, because it was assault. And it's like,
I love
and
this
I'm
track.
like, so when this movie came out in 98, the humor of that, like we knew that he obviously would never hurt her. We knew that she would never hook up with him. We knew that. But, like, she's like, wait a minute. He's in love with his teacher? And so, like, to a 19-year-old, she was just like, the social justice construct she couldn't break through.
I fought through the standard definition, no thanks, battle with my kids to show them the original Bad News Bears.
Oh, wow.
I broke through it. I got them to sit down and see it. My daughter, the look on her face when Walter Matthau reached for a beer and cracked it open while driving. Oh, yeah. And she's just like, why would you show me this?
We did.
And then Tanner's language. I'm like, different time, kids. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
But they looked at me like I was
we watched
out of my mind, you know?
Nacho Libre. And we watched Nacho Libre, which, and so to see them navigate, because also my 10 and 12-year-old are like, they're like, is Jack Black Mexican? And I'm like, I don't think so. And they're like, he must be part Mexican. I'm like, well, he was just hired. I'm like, no, he wrote it. He wrote it with Mike White. And they're like, is Mike White Mexican? I'm like, no, he's as white as me. And I was like, but this is an homage. And I'm like, and so they're sitting there justifying this.
Yes.
And they're like, maybe the director was Mexican. I'm like, no, it's the director who did Napoleon Dynamite. Probably looks like me. And it was, but it was just,
funny.
It was not, it was appropriation as we understand it, but it was an homage to this, to the, Mexican. And I brought my kids to wrestling matches in Mexico City. They're amazing.
You did do that, huh?
Yeah.
Man, Father of the Year, Jim Gaffigan here on the Rich Eisen Show. And sometimes, though, and then we'll move on to your special. Sometimes my wife and I will just give up. We're like, fine, watch this movie that we know is going to not be nearly as good as what we've suggested, but we're done fighting. So one night we relented and they watched a movie called War with Grandpa, or War on Grandpa, where, there's a grandpa who needs to be brought back into the family because he's living by himself and he can't, War with Grandpa, is that what it is? And so he's living in the third floor of the house, kicked the kid out of his room because he came in. So he and the kid are now in sort of like a Home Alone type battle.
Oh, wow.
The grandpa is played by Robert De Niro. And it dawned on me about 40 minutes in that the first De Niro movie of my children's life is War with Grandpa. And I grabbed the remote and I did the most provocative thing possible, which is to pause a movie
and
on my
try
children.
And explain.
Oh my God. I had to. I said, you have to understand. We'll finish. Like, I'll hit play again because hitting pause on them is just very provocative act. I had to explain to them. This guy on the screen is maybe the greatest living American actor, or if not the greatest actor of all time.
Yeah.
And they're like, hit play, will you please?
They're like, that guy?
That guy.
Or my kids, during the Super Bowl, they were like, my 14-year-old, she was 13 at the time, she was like, oh, Rihanna's for old people.
Whoa.
I'm like, Rihanna is for old people. I'm like, what is going on?
Is that what her assessment of the halftime show?
Yeah, that was her takeaway from the Super Bowl halftime show.
Wow.
I mean, kids are horrible. But it is also fun. It's like even, so this Mac show, Full Circle, we got a screener and we're watching it. And my kids are like, you're playing a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Like, do you get paid less for playing bad guys than, like, the good guys get paid more? And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But like, it's just the perspective is so different. But it is fun, and they get angry when I play a bad guy.
Okay. I was about to say, I mean, when you're playing a serious character, do they get totally confused here? I mean,
not really, because they kind of know me as, they're like, oh, that guy? Yeah, we could see you as a murderer. They see dad, your kids see a different person than, is here right now.
Sure.
You're like, clean up your room. You know what I mean? You don't say that here.
That's you being the heavy in the household?
Well, I try,
Jim Gaffigan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, so let's talk about Full Circle. It's a Max original limited series directed by Steven Soderbergh with a hell of a cast.
Oh, amazing cast.
So what was it like for you to be directed by Steven Soderbergh?
It was incredible. He's a very the writing's also amazing.
Yeah.
And I love acting and I love kind of playing a character where there's an open end where you could play him different ways.
Yes.
And so I would pitch ideas to Steven and he's like, yeah, all right. It was really interesting because he's the DP. He's the director of photography. He's holding the camera. He's going to edit it.
Yeah.
And he's also had his hand involved in all the writing. Ed Solomon's a great writer. And so he's like, you're essentially pitching to one person. Like, you don't have to. He's like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. So I'm like, all right, so what if I take out my gum and I kind of spit it here? Even though there is a scene where I'm eating a like a 7-Eleven burrito. It's like the first scene when you meet my character with Zazie. And I'm like, this is kind of, people are going to think this is a Hot Pocket. And Steven Soderbergh does it. He's like, well, what does it matter? What's a Hot Pocket? And so, like, he doesn't know that, like, I have this joke. And I'm like, and then I just appear like this narcissist. It's like, everyone thinks about me and eating a Hot Pocket. And he's like, and so then I'm like, forget it. But it is, to answer your question, he's brilliant. Yeah. But it is very hands off. And he's so quick. So you do, like, one take and he's like, we got it. And you're like, really? Because he's editing it, so
in his head as well as later on
for hours.
He's unbelievable,
and the morale on the set is amazing. So all the actors show up really prepared. They have ideas, and you shoot it and you move on. And he's worked with the same group forever, so everyone knows what's going on.
That's so cool. Although that is a legit point by you. Is like, hey, it could be viewed as an homage and a wink and a nod to your fan base, but you also don't want people to, get out of the character that you're playing.
Exactly. I don't want
the Hot Pocket.
And I was like, but I eventually decided it's like, if they're going to be distracted, it's just for a moment.
Right. And so did you YouTube it for Steven and just basically say,
no, I just kind of brought it up and he kind of looked at me politely like, the world is not about you, Jim. And I was like, and then reviews came out, and I did read one review where a guy thought that it was a Hot Pocket, but
okay,
that's
all right.
1 out of 50.
Well, it's all working. And now Dark Pale, 10th comedy special.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know it is.
Yeah.
What was your first again?
Beyond the Pale.
There's
always some pale element.
Understood. But now you're Dark Pale.
Now I'm Dark Pale because this is pretty kind of sardonic and
okay.
We've these past 5 or 6 years have been so weird,
right?
And we've been exposed to so much. Like, if you're not a little nihilistic or cynical by now,
yes,
you should be in the Barbie movie, right? I mean, we've all, we literally watched the news and there was a running tally of people dying. Yeah. Like, that is just weird.
Right.
And we all lost people over this time. So I kind of talk about some of that, that dark stuff. But I think, and I toured with the material for a year and people enjoyed it. But we're kind of more cynical than we used to be, I think.
Sure, absolutely. And so Dark Pale is available today on Prime Video. Seriously, I'll watch anything that you do. And so before I let you go, on a previous show we were talking about, because it's that time of season when not much is going on sports-wise, about our abilities to do one thing for one split second against a professional athlete on their professional turf. And what we could actually pull off. Like, I thought the number one tennis player in the world, Carlos Alcaraz, his serve is what, usually about a buck 25 or something?
130.
I'd be able to get 1 point off him in a 3-setter.
Oh, I would never.
Okay, so my sound guy, Mike Del Tufo, thinks he could get a goal on an NHL goalie in a one-on-one situation. So is there anything you think you could do?
I played college football for a couple of years,
right?
Mainly Division III. But I used to always think I could be a long snapper, just because you just got to take up space. You have to deliver the ball and take up space. Like, you don't really have to block. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I could be a long snapper maybe once. Like, I could
in the NFL, or what do you think?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not saying I want to do that. Like,
I'm
I
not
don't
saying you want to.
But
No,
I think that, I mean, now I can barely bend over. But I think that right now, I don't think I could do it. But
have you ever snapped? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, no, I did that. I did
long
that.
or just regular shotgun
no,
snap?
I mean, that was also like if you're a center in high school doing the shotgun, that's super fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I think that I could have done that. But not now. I don't think now.
Okay.
Now I can't. Now I can barely walk upstairs. And by the way, there's 80-year-old people. Our country is being run by a man who's 80. And I go to a parent-teacher conference and I need to take a nap after a Zoom. I'm like, wow, I should take a break, right? It's just
I do this show. I go home at some point. 5 to 10 minutes. That's all I need. Just like a power nap, man.
Yeah, there's different.
Absolutely. Yes.
There's some pacing that has to occur. Whereas in my 20s, I don't think it mattered as much.
And here I am asking if you could long snap once in the National Football League.
But so it is an interesting task. But otherwise, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, if I sleep on the wrong shoulder, like I wake up and I'm like, that's right, I can't sleep on this shoulder.
I'm that way too.
Right?
I am that way. Jeez. How old are you?
I am 5,000 years old.
Okay.
I'm 57.
Okay. Yeah.
How old are you?
54. I'm right behind. I'm neck and neck. I'm in your neck of the woods.
We're doing good. We're doing great.
I'm fine. Yeah. I know I'm doing fine. I can get 1 point off the number one guy on the
You really
planet.
think you could?
I do think so. Yeah.
Wow.
1 point. I just got to get 1 point. Just one time ball racket on ball.
Like when they show those half times of people shooting, like if you can shoot 5 baskets, I have anxiety.
What do you mean you have anxiety?
I have anxiety. I mean, like I don't think I could, if you hit this half court, you could win $1 million.
Yes.
I'm like I threw out a pitch at a Cubs game, and I was like,
well, no, that's nerve-wracking.
But I think that's a similar situation because if you do it wrong, people are like, "Oh, this is going to go viral."
It's just going to go.
Right?
That does go viral. How'd you do?
I did all right. I did fine. It wasn't a 50 cent.
Did you hit the zone?
No, it was too high, but it was. I made it, but I didn't practice either. Like my wife was like, "Are you going to throw a ball?" And I'm like, "I didn't have a chance to."
Oh, I did. So. I threw one out at Dodger Stadium, and I practiced at the UCLA the Jackie Robinson Stadium.
And so did you throw with some heat and all that?
I was. Chris, you were there that day?
I was there.
By the way, the guy that they had was their backup bullpen catcher at the time, who was in the All-Star game last week. Wow. Kenley Jansen.
Wow.
Was not even the closer that he is now. He was just a backup bullpen catcher. He was the poor bastard that had to come and catch my first pitch. He's like, who the hell is this guy? I got to come out in 90-degree heat in Chavez Ravine and bend down and catch this guy's. So I threw from the mound.
Yeah.
I would have hit a right-handed hitter, but firmly believe a left-handed hitter would have swung over my garbage.
And so there was some speed on it because mine was just like, is it going to get there? I mean, it's going to get there, but it's.
You got, there it is. There it is. I mean, you just called it up. And you put your name tag on your thigh right there?
You know what? That's what the cool kids do. That's what the cool kids do.
That's what they do.
But that was so fun. And so I grew up in Chicago listening to Cubs games and White Sox games. So it was so amazing to do that. And I'm one of 6 kids. So when I was going to do this, my siblings and their children, I was like, eventually I had to request 26 tickets.
What?
I was like, can I have 26 tickets? And they're like, Wrigley Field's not that big.
That reminds me of that Animal House line. Can I have 10,000 marbles, please? Oh my God.
Wow.
Plus 26. That's how you roll. Check out, again, Dark Pale, available today on Prime Video. The Max Original Limited Series, Full Circle, currently airing with new episodes releasing Thursdays on Max. Check it all out right here, of course, on Roku, at Jim Gaffigan on Twitter and Instagram. Always love our chat.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.